in conjunction with Ministry of, okay, INEC do now in conjunction with Ministry of Information to quickly address this challenge? The third one, what percentage of impact can we say public relations practitioners have exerted on the recent election and its outcome? Going forward, what should practitioners need the institute do or put on the table to exert or command the expected role or outcome of public relations in future engagements? And then finally here, could the low turnout also be tied to a lot of them not being able to collect PVC? These are some of the questions. You had read all the observations. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Olatunji. Moderator, I think you may wish to now call the speakers to respond. Maybe they have 1 minute each and they could touch on any of these questions.
Yes, I think so. While we expect the last speaker to join, I don't think he has joined. So can I call, starting with Bumi, okay? If Bumi is here, she could respond to some of the questions. Okay, and one of our speakers just entered here now, Isiguzo, the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists. So we'll come to you shortly. I don't know whether we should just take him before we get to the other speakers that have spoken.
Yes, please.
Yes, Isiguzo, if you're here, please take the floor and address us. We've been waiting for you. 5 minutes. In fact, for coming late, you have 4 minutes.
For returning late, you mean? He has been here.
Yeah, for returning late, right?
Because I was one of the first 10 persons that joined the meeting.
Yes,
maybe you may need to ask me questions so that I'll take it from there, please. Because I was not following.
Okay, what's your general perception? What's the general perception about the campaigns leading to the election, presidential election, and to what extent would you say that those campaign messages affected the outcomes of the election?
Okay, thank you.
Presidential election of last Saturday.
Thank you very much, very distinguished scholars that are here. It's my pleasure to join you in this conversation. Well, the election, as far as the presidential and National Assembly positions are concerned, it has come and gone, and the litigation that is expected is clearly what is following. In the course of this election, I think that substantially the election was, the election campaigns, they were issue-based to a very large extent, unlike what we used to have during this kind of electioneering. You see people storm the market and this time also the gladiators were addressing issues, even though we can also point at 1 or 2 or 3 candidates that were rather engaging in mudslinging, in character assassination, and what have you. But to a very large extent, the election was issue-based. And in the main election last Saturday, week today, Nigerians came out in their numbers, believing that the election management body had raised the consciousness of the electorate. The election management body has also helped in their messages to increase the confidence of the people, of the Nigerian populace, that the election will be credible, will be free, will be fair, and will be seen to be credible. Through the introduction of some technologies, especially the bimodal voter accreditation system that was said that will be introduced, and of course the INEC voter result portal. All of them would be at play. However, what we saw last Saturday turned out to be the reverse. And to a very large extent, that vote phase, so to speak, also impacted on the outcome of the election. But all in all, the media where I operate from, especially traditional media, to a very large extent, discharged responsibility reposed in them to, like I said, to a large extent. And they were not carried away by the activities of social media influencers, by those who brand themselves citizen journalists, and what have you. They call journalists that understand their onion to a very large extent, ensured that they did not plunge the nation into avoidable crisis. And that is the power of the media, because in some other clime, it would have been more terrible. But the media we have in Nigeria, in spite of the array of challenges, in spite of the avalanche of issues that continue to tend to draw us back in the discharge of our responsibilities, but we still try to shrug them off to ensure that we put the nation, first on the front burner. The crop of media professionals that we have in Nigeria are people who, believe in development journalism. And that is why even after the election, as of today, you are not talking about crisis. You're not talking about, sort of chaos, tension, and what have you. So the media has substantially acquitted itself, especially as far as the presidential and national assembly or parliamentary elections are concerned, because we have an array of issues that ordinarily, by the time the media begins to feast on them, of course, there will be a whole of issues that will confront us as a people. So all in all, the campaigns, the elections have come, and to some extent have equally gone. So we look forward to the judiciary to see what they will equally come up with, because the populace equally look up to them to give a sense of direction, especially in view of the issues, the array of issues coming up that are trailing the outcome of the election. But for us in the media, I will always say that it is our responsibility to inform the people, to educate the people. You inform them of developments in the polity. You educate them on how to paddle through the developments in the polity. You mobilize the people to show active and appreciable level of participation in political development. That, I believe, the media in our clime has acquitted themselves. But it may not be yet to come how we operate, which I would not say is conducive. We have operational challenges that confront us every other day. If we begin to address them in the course of this conversation today, maybe the 4 or 5 minutes that have been given to me may not be enough, because we have issues that we need to equally address. Because if you expect a media that is going to appreciably discharge its responsibility, you also expected to situate that thing you expect from them with the available environment, the available empowerment, the wherewithal with which to deliver that which you expect from them. But this is not the right time to have that conversation. But all I want to say that, as somebody who also was part of the process leading to the election, before, during, and they would also be part of the process after the election. I'm speaking from the standpoint of knowledge, understanding that what we went through last Saturday, as we speak, we have a journalist that was clamped into detention. In fact, it took a whole lot for him to be granted bail some 2 days ago. We have journalists that equally had issues with security operatives, in the line of duty. Maybe Nigerians are not focused on that. They are more interested in the outcome of the election. But there are issues leading to the outcome, which we also need to, from time to time, begin to interrogate, because these are issues that by the time we properly interrogate them, you'll be able to, come out with appropriate finality in the entire electoral process. But I must say that much as we may not be clapping for the election management body, we are also not going to completely give them the F9 or F10 or 11, as the case may be, because in the course of the campaigns, we also had that such things exist.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I may have to pause at this moment.
Yes, let me invite you to please forward your notes to the email address that is on the screen now. Only one speaker has complied. It mustn't be.
Well, I did an expo presentation.
Yes, please send it to the email address itrnigeria@gmail.com. Only the ACC Nigerian president has complied. They could just be bullet points. Just send them in there, because we do appreciate the fact that 5 minutes couldn't have been enough for you to share all that you jotted down. So let's have that so that it can go into our report, because we are working on documenting all this and seeing how the country can maximize.
Well, thank you. I will try to put something together, because what I just did was an extempo presentation. I just noted nothing. I spoke as somebody that witnessed it all. So I can make this presentation anytime, any day. Thank you very much.
We are also happy if you want to do voice note, you send it to Dr. Marcel via his WhatsApp, because we know you're a busy man. And I can see also from your speech that you were probably part of, in some of the African countries, covering your duties as president of the journalists there as well, while the election was on. Thank you, comrade. Dr. Mbamali, take us.
Thank you very much, comrade. Comrade decided to disagree with every other speaker, and he talked about the gladiators that addressed the issues. He said they all addressed the real issues, even though there was a bit of mudslinging here and there. He believes the election was bad, but that he, alluding to the hypodermic needle impact of the media, professional media, he feels that the media was responsible for the fact that there is no crisis after the election, because the media acquitted itself and did its role. And that could be controversial to an extent. I will now call on, before we take radio, because I could just notice that Dr. Fadolapo. Sorry, Fadolapo, sorry, sir. Fadolapo is here with us now, and is going to speak to some of the issues raised, especially the issue of the outdoor advertising that was raised there. So 5 minutes, Doctor, you could take the floor now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My apologies for speaking a little late. I am trying to sort out some things from my end. Number one, let me speak to the regulatory issue as it affects the election. For us, as a regulator of advertisement and marketing communication, we got a huge number of material, more than what we used to get in the previous year. The reason not be because of the enforcement compliance to ensure that all the media, the traditional media and the new media, although we have a lot on the new media, but on the traditional media, we were able to put in some of our strategy to ensure compliance. Now, on the outdoor sector, you are aware that most of the states in Nigeria now has outdoor regulatory agency. And our relationship with them, like I will say again, is very mutual and respectful. Now, we are aware that in some states, some of the signage agency came up with policies that we had to intervene. Some of the politicians or political parties and stakeholders, some are charging some fee in some places that saying the opposition party should not expose their material. In some cases, they are clamping down on some materials that were exposed by some political parties. But what we did was to engage these signage agencies. For example, I spoke with one of the managing director of the signage agency who told me that I should get evidence. You know, this is a political era and political situation. And so most of these things are for people to come out and say, okay, where is the letter? What did we give them? Because some of these people are politicians and they're just trying to drag our name in the mud. So for me, I think that well, we are getting better by the year. I may not be able or to speak on the management of the electoral process, but I am aware that INEC did a lot, but that is not for, and that's not an issue for my own discussion here. I also know that as regulator, our other sister regulatory agency like NBC, we are also involved at a point we were collaborating on ensuring that on both our end and their own end to ensure that there is sanity. If you look at the advertising space this year, you will see that there were less issues around name calling, all those unethical advertising campaigns we die and all those things. We try as much as possible to ensure that the materials that we are approved for exposures are only ones that are issue-based. And if there are issues around some of them, although we also recorded a high level of violations, across media. In some cases, we have to bring down the board. In some cases, we have to remove the material. And either they threaten us or they threaten our staff. They threaten. So we have to link up with the Nigerian police force in some cases to ensure that we are able to provide security for our staff. In all, I think this year's campaign and advertising is better managed than the previous year. And I think that we'll build on it. We are trying to put together a report of the presidential election. We are waiting for the gubernatorial so that we can have a detailed report of 2023 political election. And when this is done, I'm sure we'll be able to share with all stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. It's very interesting contribution from the DG of ARCON. I believe that we cannot wait for that report from you. This, of course, is the point where we would allow, maybe before we go to the speakers, we should quickly just take 5 minutes and allow the House. For those who want to intervene or to ask questions, you can put your questions in the chat box, but we can allow a few interventions. I know, for instance, that German and Nikolapo will want to speak, especially to see whether I would want to see whether he agrees with Comrade, the NUJ president, who has given pass mark to the media, or he has an alternative view. So this is the time we'll take those questions. I'll take German, I'll take Professor Mande, and I can see more hands up. So let's take those two, and then we also move on to recognizing 3 more people.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. I'll just there to listen, because I know these are specialists are speaking here. So I will not be so bold to disagree with President. That's my president at the NUJ. But I don't think the media really performed so creditably as the president has said. I say that with all due respect. I was in the newsroom and I know the way the paper editor will have handled the issue. I mean, we're all given to being partisan, but the media could have done better, especially electronic media. I think we went overboard. We were not. We didn't really do perform the role of fourth estate of the realm. There's deeper meaning to that particular statement. Fourth estate of the realm means that we're part of the. There's a bigger role that have been assigned to us. What's media ownership? We know that many of these politicians actually own the media. They don't own it; they pay for them. So you can imagine there are some certain programs and stations that have completely shut down from, because you can't be feeding me with those kind of information and you think you are balanced. I mean, I know what the balance reporting is, but I'm ready to listen more to the professionals there. That's what I'm doing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Yes, sir. We would have just 3 more interventions. Professor Samuel Amande, then Blaise Udenze, and Everest Amefule. The only exception will be if there's any lady that want to speak, I can take one after that. Yes, please, Professor Mande.
Oh, thank you very much.
1 minute, please. Professor Mande seems to be hanging. Maybe you can switch off your video. We can take Blaise while we wait to have him back.
Amas, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I just want to address some of the issues raised by some of the moderators or the speakers, rather. One of the speakers talked about institutional failure, while the other one addressed the issue of the spokespersons of each political party that failed or lacked to address a capacity issue to clearly communicate their visions and programs that rather they had to engage in banters. And also, one of the speakers also addressed the role of the media to educate the people with the truth. And if you ask me, this brings to bear, because I was having a discussion with some of my colleagues, former colleagues. I work with the financial institution and I work with the corporate communication unit. And they came after me when I raised an issue that the media has failed on its part. Sincerely, whatsoever issues we have in the political system, largely the media contributed to 60%, because we have failed to engage in investigative journalism. And I tell you, media can play a larger role to change the narratives of the political system. But on the part of the media, I must tell you, the lapses is too conspicuous.
Your 1 minute is up, sir.
Clear.
The last sentence.
For everybody to know and to see. So, the media journals during the election. After the election, I will tell you, sir, none of this issue or abuse on the media sector will be raised by this year. They will just go mute about it. And I asked why. Is it because of the romance they have with the political gladiator and for the gains and benefit and they get? Because if they should do their work wholeheartedly the way and they should do it, so many of these ills and decadence and we see in the political system would have been addressed. So the media has a larger role to play, and I will tell you, currently we have failed.
I'm afraid, please, that is the most we can take from you, but you can put the remaining aspect you want to contribute in the chat box.
Yes, I sent in my contribution there, but it was not read.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Everest Amefule, 1 minute, please. We'll take you, Professor Mande. I've seen your return. Dr. Everest Amefule.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out one issue, and that is the gap between communication and action. We have pointed out this election has been characterized with a more youthful participation. And so one of the things that attracted the youth to participate is the promise that the election was going to, that the votes of everyone was going to count. And the issues, the BVAS and then the IREV, they were part of the things that attracted the youths. That, oh, okay, if we participate in this, we can have our voices heard. And this attracted a lot of participation. A lot of people wanted to be part of the election. But you see the gap between communication and action. At the dying minute, the BVAS, the results of the election could not be uploaded. People could not view the results from the IREV. And up to now, I don't think all the results of the polling units have been uploaded. And so you see a major gap between communication, especially from the institution called INEC, and the action that they have taken. And this is this gap in communication, between communication and action is what has led to a crisis. A crisis per se. We might not, it might not have busted on the streets, but a lot of people.
This is a point we should beg you to stop, because your image is already turning. You might go 360 very soon, but that's a very important contribution you have made. We can take more in the chat box. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah. Professor Mande, you have 1 minute, please.
Well, thank you, Professor Dandaura and other members of this forum. To me, what I consider as a development from this, the election we had, is that it has succeeded by coming up with other turbulent issues in our country. Instead of having a way to have a unified country, the election has degenerated to the extent that there are other fault lines coming up now. Why am I saying this? In what we are used to, the candidates are supposed to be product to be purchased by the customers. And for that to be done, it is supposed to be based on the testimony and based on the information about each of those products, in this case, talking about the contestants. But at the end of the day, because of the activities of some stakeholders, one way or the other, it has now exposed even hidden fault lines, whereby, for example, some of our religious bodies have gotten to the extent, instead of being neutral, they now go into podium or get to whatever position to even be campaigning for individuals. That is not acceptable. So these are part of the things that we've seen, and is something that would affect our national cohesion. I want to believe that as time goes on, some of these things can now be reduced. The involvement of ethnicity and the involvement of religion is also a major one. Then another negative thing that also came up from this activity is that some of those spokespersons for the political parties, some even got to the extent of getting to the podium and insulting the parents of some of those candidates. And these are things that are not acceptable. That is looking at that in that angle. But to the angle of the professional bodies, thank you. Just for the professional bodies, like what my Oga talked about, the DG of AFCON, there's no doubt about it. Because of the involvement of the new law of ARCON, it has now come up with other opportunities and more responsibility for ARCON. And I want to believe that as time goes on, there will be a way to see how this thing can be. And I want to address that in subsequent engagement, INEC can be invited to this our meeting, and then the National Orientation Agency can equally be part of it, because you realize that they were completely, in a way, so to say, that they were not involved in society. I'm talking about the NOA. So, but there should be a way to look at how they can be involved. And then for INEC to now see the need to have a department of marketing and communication in their directorate in INEC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, indeed, it is part of our plan, but that will be at the end of all the elections. We would be having a special session for all the regulatory bodies to further engage. Let us know what were the challenges and what were the new learnings so that we can ensure that we're not just talking to ourselves, but they that have the responsibility to regulate the environment would also understand the perspectives that are being shared in our series. Our moderator is back. I think that we may not be able, Dr. Mbamalu, to give each presenter time to speak. Maybe we'll just leave it within a window of 5 minutes. They can just intervene, but you are directing. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I must apologize for yanked off just like that. But Professor Dandara, you've done a very wonderful job. Thank you very much for salvaging the situation. I think I don't know. No hand is up here.
We've exhausted that.
Yeah,
okay.
Just closing remarks by.
Okay, so fine. So that's more like a summary that we're going to do now.
Let's give 5 minutes to the presenters, those who want to comment.
Okay, fine.
Just 5 minutes. I think they can just come at will.
Okay, fine. So I'm looking out for hands that will be up. Any presenter can speak now to respond to some of the issues raised.
Well, we are.
Okay, let me.
Tolu, is Tolu here? Okay.
Can I
speak
Bumi? Since I was called up earlier? All I want to say, thank you for this great opportunity. What I just wanted to talk about is where the question that was asked is if communicate, why not? I mean, you can't communicate within if you don't join one or two, so that you're not just on the outside as observers. You can have us understand the name of the game. However, I think whether we like it or not, we should also be more involved in training this. The leaders of each political party has a right to choose whoever they want to speak for them, because it's not by law. It's not like a lawyer that you only get a lawyer to speak at the law courts. Until we get to a point where professionals can be clearly the ones that handle marketing communications, I think what we can do is just have workshops to explain to our professionals in the political parties on how best to do this job of marketing and communication. So I think there just needs to be more collaboration and professional engagement through training and development. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, as you are very much aware, I'm still very much on the highway, but I have been listening at least since I made my own presentation. There are one or two or three issues were major highlights that characterized this election. When one person was responding, somebody raised the issue of religion, ethnicity, that we can find within the ambits of identity. The issue of identity, to some extent, to a very large extent, dictated the pace in the course of this election. Of course, we have the issue of the institution. The election management body, the security agencies, to a very large extent, also played their own role. Then we have the issue of information disorder. You would agree with me that this period, there is a global information disorder. To a very large extent, over 60–70% of some of the information that were dished out in the course of this election were false, were fake news. That's where we talk about misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, fake news. And most of the populace, the electorate, relied on these fake news, not knowing that they were not facts. Most of them were mere fiction. You know, these are some of the issues that were major highlights, high points in the course of this election. Somebody said they expected more from the media. Yes, without the media, there will be darkness. And I would always say that democracy dies in darkness. So if the media is not able, is hampered, is put in a pigeonhole, is encumbered from discharging its responsibilities, to a very large extent, the system or the society would exist in darkness. So that's why most people would say, yeah, the media is not doing much. Like I said earlier on during my presentation, I made it very clear. Yes, you must have expected so much more from the media. But the same media you talk about, they are human beings that operate in the same system with you. They go to the same market. Now, have we also considered whether they are properly remunerated? There is that economic encumbrance. There is that ownership encumbrance. There is the digital encumbrance. These are some of the challenges that media professionals face every day. They were able to appreciably.
That's the point we might interrupt you, comrades, because of time.
Okay. All right.
I'm happy you said you will send in your notes, so we incorporate that as it is. Professor Bashir, please.
Yes, that's exactly okay.
Okay, thank you very much. One issue I want us to underline is the influence of social media, together with social media influencers. Statistics has always been telling us of the shift now in media. It's no longer now Guardian, Punch, Vanguard. These guys now, they don't rely on this to form opinion or to be influenced. These social media influencers, these celebrities, these young people that are causing revolution, they are not reading Guardian, Punch, or This Day, or The Nation, or NTA, or AIT. They read comments on Facebook, on Instagram, TikTok. That's where they get their opinion. That's where people influence them. So when we say professionals, we tend not to look toward social media, and we are missing the point. If you look at the statistics, the data, the use of artificial intelligence is pointing to a different direction. By 10, 20 years, we may have different set of professionals now who may influence voting. So we need to look at that as professional. We need also to learn and relearn if we want to make relevance. Some of these elections are local, and some of them, they don't buy airtime. They have what they call social media crews. Some young boys that are paid 20,000, 5,000, they buy data for them, buy a mobile phone for them, and they are bombarding the internet. And the BBC has also done an investigation to see how some of these social media, receive a lot of money for negative, spins of some stories. Before you realize, before it is debunked, they do a lot of damage to certain candidates, certain political parties, or certain views. Sometimes, or they unearth truth, but in a different point of view. So we need to start looking toward that. And we have not also said, how have they influenced the outcome of this election, whether it is turnout, whether it is voting, and what have you. Even as we are debating the result, to what extent have social media altered the election communication space? This question has not been answered yet, maybe in a future conversation, but I want us to underline this. Maybe we may have a session specifically on that. That's my final take home. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof, for that incisive additional comment to the discourse. To what extent has the social media impacted the overall communication space and outcomes? And that's quite, and I think it's something that also the consortium will be looking at going forward. I don't know whether there is any more comment from any of the speakers here.
No, let's
I don't know.
So we'll be rounding up. Professor Dandara, you want to?
Yeah, no, the DG Archon wanted
something. Okay. DG Archon, do you want to speak?
Okay. For us, there are a lot of learnings. Yes, please. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Can I go ahead?
Cool.
Yes, go ahead, please.
For us as regulator of the advertising space, advertisement and marketing communication space, there are a lot of learnings for us too. Number one, we need to understand the difference between the traditional media and the new media. Like Prof said, there's a shift of that conversation. The convergence has moved from the traditional media to the new media. Now, that is an indication for us an indication of terms of advertising communication. I'm not talking about content now. I'm not talking about information. Most of the materials that are exposed on the digital media or social media, as I'm talking to you, majority of them are not vetted, and majority of them does not sync with the code of advertising in Nigeria. That is one of the learnings for us. Number two is that because we need to block that end, what we are doing is we are already engaging the digital tech, the primary digital platform owners, because the shift in advertising is gradually moving towards the new media. And so for us, we can see that most of the materials that are not approved find their way to the digital media. And as much as possible, we were trying to ensure that there is sanity. Although we have a lot of improvement in communication than the marketing and all those things. And there are still so many spaces to cover. But for us, we are putting together our learnings on this election, and we believe that subsequent election will be well positioned to manage it better. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for that. By way of summary, it's been a very wonderful day. If I call on the our Professor Mba to give a vote of thanks, I want to take us through to some, obviously not all because of time, of what has happened here this evening. There was so much, the speakers spoke so much about the communication that went into the campaigns, how right, how effective they were. And the summary of it all is that the social media were either not used properly or either underused or not used effectively for positive impact. And another issue that came up here is the fact that the regulatory body did not do so much in its communication prior to the election, and even post-election, the management of the ensuing crisis hasn't been actually up to standard. The issues that came up with the wrong communication, perhaps because the political parties themselves did not deploy the services of professionals in their messaging. Issues that came up was more or less like increasing or accentuating our fault lines: ethnicity, religion, and personality. And as evidence in the messaging, as you see some people attacking personalities and the rest, there is this also blame, not just on INEC, but on the media. The fact that the media should have done more than it did, even though there were efforts by some speakers to exonerate the media, but the overwhelming overwhelming opinion is that the media has done badly, has not done so well in averting this kind of negative communication. The conclusion is that before I talk about the conclusion, there is also this agreement that for outdoor advertising in that sphere of communication, that actually we didn't have enough liberal space. There is this kind of shrinking civil space whereby some states, some governors and some leaders in states did not allow opposition to really air their views, to pass across their messages. And that's not bad. And how could now regulatory bodies come in to ensure that this happened? And then most of the negative messages don't really, or didn't really go through approvals. The social media impacts finally came up to say, to show that however we try to contain things in the traditional media space, that we are being overwhelmed by what is happening in the new media, because there's a whole measure of control that needs to go there. But for us we haven't agreed on how we can do this. It means that the professionals we are identifying today may not be the professionals of tomorrow because of the new media. Finally, we agreed here that we are going to find a way to invite INEC to ensure that INEC and the National Orientation Agency would be part of this discourse, because they have a lot to do in trying to change this narrative. Overall, the 2023 presidential election is adjudged not to be have been properly done. Below expectation it was, because communication wasn't managed, was not properly deployed, and managers of that election did not do, had what at least one of the contributors said, managing or aligning communication with action. So it means that there is a kind of negative or deceptive communication, which didn't, which is actually not part of what it should be. So by and large, I want to call on Professor Chinedu Bah to give us, I think he will make one or two comments as he's trying to do this, to close for us, give us vote of thanks, and then I don't know, whatever thing we're going to do, and that will be our closing. Thank you very much.
Could the convener and talk before the closing remarks?
Okay, okay then. We call on convener, our convener, Professor Charles Okibo, please, to make his final comments before the closing, the vote of thanks, rather.
And then the chairman.
No, I think that after that, we'll just take closing remarks. We have overshot our time.
Okay, okay, awesome. Okay, go on.
Actually, if Professor Okibo can come in now, fine. Otherwise, we'll take the closing remarks. He can come in after that.
Okay.
Because we have made commitment.
I think he's ready.
Okay.
He's unmuted. Professor Okibo is unmuted.
Finally.
Let's take Professor Mbah's closing remarks, the vote of thanks rather, then we'll come back to Professor Okibo to accept the commitments we have made on behalf of the Consortium of Communication, Nigerian Communication Experts, in terms of what next to do. Professor Mbah, vote of thanks, please.
Finally, Professor Dantiram.
Oh, man.
I am female, I know.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's a common error. Well, thank you, and good evening from here, and good morning wherever you are. Thanks for joining us today. It's been such an honor and quite illuminating presentations by guests. And like Professor Okibo did say in his opening remarks, it's only really when we come together and form a formidable force that we can make the changes we desire to see in the media and also in our society. And having you engage with us today and share your perspective is one step closer to this goal we hope to achieve. So once more, I'd like to thank honored guests who made time from your busy schedules to be part of this, and also for those who attended. It's not easy to take time away on a Saturday to be part of any event. So thank you so much, our moderator and Professor Dandira. Thank you for everything you've done so far. And enjoy the rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. I'll pass on now to Professor Okibo.
Thank you so much, Professor Chinedu Mbah. Professor Okigbo had a challenge with his microphone, so he's asked us to go ahead. Just to say thank you to everybody for staying this late. We, of course, have overshot our time by 30 minutes. We want to say that we would expect to engage again here in the next 2 weeks, as is our tradition. That will be a week after the gubernatorial election. We have made promises as stated by our moderator. We would have a session for our research teams. Of course, we noted at the beginning that this whole process is a means of gathering data, empirical data for the research teams that are looking at the different aspects of how communication is used, or well, rather was used for the 2023 presidential elections campaigns. And that means that we're going to have a session where chairmen of the different work groups, public relations, advertising, outdoor, print, social media, and all that will make their presentation, and we would also listen to how far they have gone in that research. And of course, we said we're going to have a special session for the regulatory bodies. Professor Okigbo has said I should confirm this to you. And we want to assure you that next time we will stay with our 2 hours. Have a nice evening. We have taken already screenshots, but you may wish to release your camera for those whose cameras were off, so we can take the second round of the screenshots for purpose of our records. Please put your videos on if you can, please. Okay, I'm waiting. Yes, I'm waiting.
For Professor Chinedu?
Yes.
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 So,
Did you want me to say something?
you don't want to see your face.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so we will now ask that the screenshots be taken. So we have just 2 pages. So we have the first page now, and we are on the second page. So thank you so much, distinguished participants. Please make it a date with us again in the next 2 weeks. And we will be happy if you can drop your email in the chat box if you want us to send you a direct message with respect to our next meeting. Professor Olatunji is chairing one of the groups. And of course, we also have in the house, Professor Gabsiso, working very hard at the background to make things work. We have Professor Ezekiel Sema, who was our rapporteur for today. We want to thank you. We would generally say that all members of the various research teams that are in the house, just raise up your digital hand so that we can also clap for you digitally. Yes, please. Yes, Dr. Sita, I can see you. Yes, let's clap for them. Well done, well done, well done. Madam Juliana Taiwo Obale, you have become our in-house media person. And I think that you should also be talking to us next time. What do you think is the performance of the media? And if people do not hear about all that we are doing here, we assume that you have abandoned us. Thank you so much indeed, Juliana. We want to hear your voice as begin to log out.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So rest well.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. Dr. Mbamalu, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Prof. You've done noble.
Thank you. I hope that you have your notes because
Done well.
you may need to give them to write in for us, your summary. Because I can see you had very comprehensive summary.
Yeah. There's a rapporteur. Like I do, let me not bite my tongue.
Rapporteur.
No, there's
Yes,
a
but
rapporteur. And your notes may also come in handy to enrich the rapporteur's report.
It's okay. It's
Thank
okay.
you. But I know Professor
Yes.
Sima is now waiting for your notes so that he doesn't say he didn't get your notes.
No, it's not waiting. It's not. But I'll do something for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Professor Olatunji, thank you for stepping in. As
welcome.
usual. Professor Gabsiso, I like your beautiful shirt. I think that when next you're coming to Abuja, make sure you come with something like this, or there'll be no visa for you to go back.
No problem, sir.
Dr. Nyameka has spoken here. I want to hear his voice. I know how it sounds. He looks. Can you say something, Dr. Nyameka?
Osita, that's Osita now.
Oh yeah, Osita Nyameka.
Your mic is off, Prof.
That's great. That's great. I've heard your voice now. So next time you'll be speaking to us.
I didn't hear his voice. His microphone was off.
I said, Professor Didi, I said, my name is Osita Nyameka, and I'm very proud to be here.
Great.
I'm actually looking forward to the next 2 weeks meeting.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I want to thank you guys for doing very, very great job. God bless you. God bless you abundantly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you.
Prime Business
Thank you,
Africa. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Rotimi.
I think that we have to begin to mobilize our research teams because I don't think most of our members attend these sessions. So
well, some of my team members, they were here.
Okay. It would be good to have everybody in the house.
Maybe at our strategy meeting, we will talk about the date.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of assignments on our hands.
That's
and
true.
That 2 weeks may be pretty difficult to deliver. Just from my own point of view.
We may ours may, if there's need for us to have the second one before ours, we can do that. But actually it's just interim report. It may not necessarily be that you have wow. But if we can just share to confirm that we are working, maybe that's more like it.
Okay.
And also
what we call work in progress.
Yes, yes.
All right. We'll see what to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Yeah.